motherfuckers, this is not a child-friendly channel. If you are 13 or younger, please get out, because otherwise I'm going to go to jail. And I, CatMik, would very much not like to go to jail. I'll be blunt. I love Vore. I find the idea that my entire body could be engulfed by the jaws of another being who then proceed to fatten themselves up with what used to be me is just thrilling. And while role-playing is fine and all, sometimes I like my Vore in the form of a game I can poke around in and interact with when I find myself alone. However, video games take a lot of time and effort to make, and as an experienced role-player I can absolutely tell you, burnout is a bitch. Especially when things aren't going the way you wanted, progress is scarce, and you feel like your wheels are just spinning in the mud as you waste your energy going nowhere. Hence today's list. The top 5 Vore games that, at the time of writing, were started and not yet completed. To those who gave up completely, I want you to know, your efforts were not unappreciated, and to those of you who are still working on refining your games, I love them. I might be unable to support you financially, but I will be happy to cheer you on from the sidelines. That is, when I'm not too busy just enjoying what you've already made, wink wink. Our number 5 is Monster Girl Rancher by Sulac. We're starting casually with a casual game, Monster Girl Rancher. It's a fairly basic sim inspired by the Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley games, where you buy cowgirls, harpies, lamias, mermaids and centaur girls from a broker. Then basically take care of them. You can gather their milk and other items and feed them with whatever you've picked up from a grocery store and even other monsters. But that's a grindy and time-consuming process, so you'll likely turn the farm into a strip club where you hire men to make additional monsters via intercourse, or you can just do it yourself if your genders are compatible. And once you pimp up your monsters, you can enter them into beauty contests. Should you win, a reasonable cash prize awaits you. There's only one tiny issue as far as I'm concerned. This is all a numbers game. Aside from buffing out your stats and being diligent in your world, there's not much gameplay to deal with. And the game tends to start out fairly slow, meaning you have to work up to make your own fun. But I will admit, there's something just really perverse about having an entire farm of various creatures that you've built solely so you can fit them to your favorite avian, and I can't help but enjoy that. Even if said creatures are her own children. The game is started on official updates at version 0.5.3.0, and it doesn't seem like it's coming back, unfortunately. But if it did, one thing I was hoping for is some interactive element like in the Among Us that had those tiny tasks, but alas, this is distinctly fine as it is. Up next is number 4. Project Glut by DraconicSyntax. How about talking a game that's still alive? And an actual good game to boot. Project Glut attempts to take on the stealth platformer genre and so far succeeds, though it's still being refined both in terms of graphics and mechanics. At the time of writing it only had a handful of levels, which were sufficiently fun little romps, as you explore the station and eat the biomechanical security androids to heal, and shoot down the fully robotic hostiles with your stun gun. For those that you can't eat or gun down, you must sneak around or quite possibly be eaten yourself. And then you have to ensure you're alone so you can actually digest your prey if you're the one who manages to make a catch. A promising start to something that, honestly, I would be more than willing to throw my money at if I could. But I can't, I have my own obligations and expenses. I'm spoiled, not rich. Number 3. Nomad by Warped Realities. Nomad is a procedurally generated tile-based roguelike dungeon crawler set in a universe ravaged by a now-defunct plague which destroyed most of the population. In the aftermath of the apocalypse, the remnants of wildlife and civilization scattered around the galaxy started playing fast and loose with their anatomy and genetics, allowing anyone to eat anything they desired by simply drinking a specialized soda or applying some special herbs to your genitalia. And that's where you come in, a sole pilot of a wormholes-capable spacecraft who crashes onto a small planet. You have to manage your lust, hunger and stamina as you find a replacement for your ship, build up your inventory, all while avoiding haywire security droids, lamias, mutant aliens, and small dragons that wanna turn you into semen. Or if you have a respawn machine, let yourself be eaten to your heart's content, as long as you don't mind having to run back to pick your items up again. And since majority of the events take place within the dialogue box, Nomad uniquely features a fetish selection system that allows you to blacklist dialogue options that would lead you to see things you don't wish to see. So if the dragon's big cock scares you, you can just make it never happen. The last time I played Nomad was in 2019, but when I returned in 2021 to the Discord server, it turns out the game was still limping along, even though the creator was as burnt out as the husks in Dark Souls, but still having the whole thing slowly continue, especially since people in the community are working on and off on their own content updates. Still, I can't help but wonder what the state of the game will be once it releases its final update. But until then, we'll have to wait and see. Number 2. Charizard Inside Story. Let's be honest, Charizard Inside Story is bad. It's terrible. The graphics are wildly inconsistent, the use of sound effects is rudimentary, the difficulty is schizophrenic due to unfriendly physics, the presentation is basic, and the English leaves a lot to be desired, and the story is just nonsensical. But I will admit, it's functional. And I want more. I have no idea why, but I want to see this game rebooted, even though the creator abandoned it. For one simple reason. It could be better? Like, the actual amount and variety of Vore is actually pretty good. But what it needs desperately is gameplay and user interface improvements. And I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy it on some level. If the author ever returned and remade it in a different engine, I would probably dive into it enthusiastically. But as it stands, it's a carcass rotting away in the sand. Anybody out there practicing necromancy? I got something for you. Before we get to number 1, here are some honorable mentions. Struggle Simulator, which would have made it on the list several versions ago, but it feels complete enough in its current status that if it dies, I won't weep over it. It's still pretty nice to see it kicking around and getting some more updates though. Fromage, which I didn't include because its creator moved on to Milia Wars, which then became the fully released Echidna Wars DX, which I did review. Mystic Knight Maya, which I'm hoping gets a full release, but it only has one Vore scene in the demo, so I didn't feel like the inclusion of it would be justified. Fox Feast, which both looks and plays good, but I realized that I'm not really all that invested, despite the fact that I liked what I saw in the demo. When I started making this list, I decided to rank the games by how much I desired to see them finished. Monster Girl Rancher, I'm hoping it'll be revived and developed eventually, but I'm not expecting it to ever happen. The rarity of updates for Glut led me to leave it alone until the future, but I do plan on checking up on it occasionally. Nomad I have left alone for a while, but I felt nostalgic for it, and its completion is something I would love to see for all time's sake. Charizard Inside Story is just a case of morbid fascination, and if it returned I would be pleasantly surprised, but if it's never gonna get revived, I'm not gonna touch it. However, there is one game I was emotionally invested in, both into the game itself as it burned a lot of my hours, and into the reviews that I made with my friends, even if it did cause a lot of drama. And yet, I am rekindling the fire once more. I didn't see it start, but I saw it grow and eventually stop. It was like a flash of burning light that would never fully rekindle again, and now only its embers remain to warm up me and the rest of us. The Vore game I would like to see completed the most is Packrat. Packrat is a Metroidvania where you, a newly devoured rat, and the long-trapped avian Sierra must fight your way out of the stomach of the goddess of will, Pandora. As you explore the vast systems of the illusory world created by her, you must acquire new powers and defeat increasingly powerful bosses to destroy Pandora's grip on the illusion, and free yourself from her world and her stomach, or succumb to despair or horny addiction, and become another lost soul enjoying being endless prey to the multiple copies of Pandora's previous victims. I've sunk so much time hunting for secrets, discovered sequence-breaking techniques, secret paths, tons of pickups, and even shoutouts to other characters. The combat is crisp and fast. The art style is great, and the animations never outstay their welcome. And if you tire from all the running around and need to rest inside a mother avian's womb, all you need to do is press your face against it. It has every facet of a well-polished game from top to bottom, and even the areas that were incomplete were a fun curiosity to discover. It was a sprawling, amazing Metroidvania platformer in nearing perfection. And then the dams burst. Overwhelmed by demands and expectations, the creator caved in, and Packrat's source code was released for the public to try and complete themselves if they wished so. But the official version's support has stopped. Author, I don't blame you for throwing in the towel. After all, it is better that Packrat perishes in the open than you die because of it in secret. And even as I place Packrat at the top of this list, I feel not sorrow but joy. For while the fire was still alive, I got to bask in its warmth, and though the flames will never spread to new pastures, I can briefly rekindle them from the embers and feel the welcoming blaze once again. Thank you for this act of warphilic arson. Sincerely, Mikael Christe. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, go check out my own other stuff. I'm not gonna show for too long because I have no idea how to incorporate it into the video. Thank you!